When people hear the word addiction, they usually think of drugs, alcohol, nicotine, gambling. They imagine something obvious, something destructive, something that ruins lives in plain sight. But what if one of the most dangerous addictions doesn't look dangerous at all? What if it feels safe, comfortable, familiar? What if the addiction that quietly shapes millions of lives is the one almost nobody questions? Comfort. Not because comfort is evil. Every human being needs rest, needs peace, needs moments of recovery. Comfort becomes dangerous only when it stops being a place we visit and becomes the place we choose never to leave. Unlike other addictions, comfort rarely destroys your life overnight. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand everything all at once. Instead, it whispers. Start tomorrow. Stay where it's safe. Don't take the risk. You're fine exactly where you are. The voice is calm, reasonable, even comforting. And that is precisely what makes it so convincing. Because every time we choose the easier path over the necessary one, we strengthen a habit. One difficult conversation becomes another conversation avoided. One postponed goal becomes another year that quietly slips away. One excuse becomes part of our identity. By themselves, these choices seem insignificant, but repeated over months and years, they slowly shape the direction of an entire life. History has always rewarded those willing to endure temporary discomfort for a greater purpose. Every meaningful skill begins with frustration. Every meaningful relationship demands vulnerability. Every meaningful achievement requires uncertainty. Growth has never asked us to remain comfortable. It has always invited us beyond it. This documentary is not about rejecting comfort. It is about understanding its proper place. Because comfort is an excellent place to recover, but it is a dangerous place to build a life. The greatest opportunities rarely ask whether you are the smartest person in the room. They ask something much simpler. Are you willing to remain uncomfortable long enough to become someone greater than you are today? That question has shaped extraordinary lives for generations. And perhaps it is the very question that will shape yours. Comfort is not the enemy. In fact, it is one of life's greatest gifts. After a long day of work, comfort allows us to recover. After hardship, it gives us peace. After failure, it gives us the strength to stand again. There is nothing wrong with comfort. The problem begins when we confuse recovery with a way of life. Comfort was designed to be a resting place, not a permanent address. Think about nature. A bird does not learn to fly by remaining inside the nest, but eventually, staying in the nest becomes more dangerous than leaving it. Growth demands departure. Human life follows the same principle. Every important chapter begins with discomfort. The first day at a new job, starting a business, learning a new skill, moving to a different city, speaking in front of strangers, having an honest conversation you've been avoiding. None of these experiences feel comfortable at first, yet they are often the moments that shape us most. This is one of life's quiet paradoxes. The things that improve our lives rarely feel good in the beginning. Exercise is uncomfortable. Learning is frustrating. Discipline is demanding. Change is uncertain. But over time, these temporary discomforts create lasting rewards. But if chosen without balance, it often asks us to sacrifice tomorrow. That sacrifice is rarely obvious. It happens gradually. You postpone the workout until next week. You delay learning the skill you've wanted to master. You keep saying yes to a life that no longer challenges you because saying no feels uncomfortable. Nothing dramatic happens. The days continue. Life moves forward. But so does time. And one day, you realize years have passed while you were waiting for the perfect moment to begin. The tragedy is not that comfort exists. The tragedy is that it can convince us we are making progress simply because we are staying busy. There is a difference between being occupied and moving forward. Many people fill their schedules with familiar routines. They feel productive. Yet deep inside, they know they have stopped growing. Growth has a way of exposing us. It reminds us of what we do not know. It challenges our confidence. It forces us to confront failure before success. Comfort asks nothing from us. Growth asks almost everything. That is why so many people choose comfort, without realizing the price they are paying. The price is rarely immediate. It is measured in opportunities never taken, abilities never developed, dreams quietly abandoned before they were ever tested. Imagine looking back on your life years from now. Which decision would you regret more? The risk that didn't work out, or the opportunity you never gave yourself the chance to pursue? For most people, the answer is surprisingly clear. The greatest regrets rarely come from the moments we tried and failed. They come from the moments we allowed comfort to make the decision for us. Comfort is a wonderful place to recover, but recovery is only valuable if it prepares you to move again. Because the purpose of comfort has never been to stop your journey. Its purpose has always been to give you the strength to continue it. If comfort can quietly shape our choices, why does it feel so incredibly difficult to walk away from it? The answer lies deep inside the human brain, and understanding that answer changes everything. Your brain is designed to keep you comfortable. Have you ever wondered why doing the right thing often feels harder than doing nothing at all? Why waking up early feels like a battle? Why exercise demands effort? Why beginning a difficult project can feel overwhelming? It is tempting to blame laziness, but the explanation is far more interesting. Your brain was never designed to make your life extraordinary. It was designed to keep you alive. For thousands of years, survival depended on conserving energy. Food was uncertain. Danger was everywhere. Wasting effort on unnecessary risks could mean the difference between life and death. So the human brain evolved to prefer what was familiar, predictable, safe. That instinct helped our ancestors survive, but the modern world is very different. Today, the greatest dangers are rarely wild animals or food shortages. Instead, our biggest challenges are often invisible. Distraction, procrastination, comfort. The same brain that once protected us now quietly encourages us to avoid anything uncertain. It says, stay where you are. Do it tomorrow. Don't embarrass yourself. What if you fail? The strange part is that this voice usually sounds reasonable. It doesn't tell you to give up forever. It simply asks you to wait one more day, then another, and without realizing it, weeks become months, months become years. The greatest opportunities in life are rarely lost in a single decision. They disappear through small delays repeated over time. This is why comfort can become addictive, not because it feels incredible, but because it asks for almost nothing. Growth asks for effort. Comfort asks only that you remain where you are. Every time you choose the familiar over the meaningful, your brain receives a quiet reward. It learns that avoiding discomfort works. The next difficult decision becomes even harder. Eventually, what was once a choice begins to feel like your personality. People start saying things like, I'm just not disciplined. I'm not confident. I'm not the kind of person who takes risks. But those statements often describe habits, not identity. Habits can be changed. Identities feel permanent. That distinction matters. Because the moment you believe comfort is simply who you are, you stop questioning it. You stop growing. Think about the first time you learned something difficult. Reading, driving, speaking in front of a group. At first, every step felt uncomfortable, awkward, unnatural. But repetition changed everything. What once demanded enormous effort eventually became automatic. The brain is remarkably adaptable. It can become comfortable with almost anything. The question is, what are you training it to become comfortable with? Avoiding challenges or facing them? Delaying difficult conversations or having them anyway? Choosing convenience or choosing growth? Every repeated decision teaches your mind what to expect tomorrow. That is why transformation rarely begins with one dramatic moment. It begins with one uncomfortable choice. Repeated, consistently. The brain may prefer comfort, but it also learns from action. And once it realizes that discomfort is not the same as danger, something remarkable begins to happen. The things that once felt impossible slowly become ordinary. The comfort zone expands. Confidence grows, not because fear disappears, but because you stop allowing fear to make your decisions. Perhaps that is the greatest misunderstanding about courage. Courage is not the absence of discomfort. It is the decision to move forward despite it. And once you understand that, you begin to see a pattern that has existed throughout history. The people who achieved extraordinary things were not those who avoided discomfort. They were the ones who learned to walk toward it willingly. Look closely at the people you admire: the entrepreneur who built a remarkable company, the athlete who reached the highest level, the artist whose work inspired millions, the scientist who changed the world. At first glance, their achievements seem completely different, but beneath every extraordinary life lies the same hidden pattern. Each of them chose discomfort long before they experienced success. They practiced when no one was watching. They studied while others were entertained. They accepted failure while others avoided it. That is the strange truth about growth. It rarely arrives wearing the clothes of comfort. It usually arrives disguised as difficulty. Think about learning any meaningful skill. The first attempts are almost always frustrating. You make mistakes. You feel slow. You question whether you're capable. Many people stop at this stage, not because they lack potential, but because they mistake discomfort for a sign that they should quit. In reality, discomfort is often evidence that learning has begun. The same is true in every area of life. Strong relationships require uncomfortable conversations. Leadership requires difficult decisions. Confidence grows through repeated exposure to situations that once made you nervous. Even self-respect is earned by doing what is right when doing what is easy would feel far more appealing. Every meaningful transformation asks for a price. The question is never whether you will experience discomfort. The question is which kind you will choose. The discomfort of discipline, or the discomfort of regret. The discomfort of honesty, or the discomfort of pretending. The discomfort of taking a risk, or the discomfort of wondering what might have been. Life rarely allows us to avoid discomfort completely. It simply allows us to choose which version we will live with. The people who accomplish extraordinary things understand this. They stop asking, "How can I avoid discomfort?" Instead, they begin asking, which discomfort is worth enduring? That single shift changes everything, because once discomfort has a purpose, it becomes easier to carry. A difficult workout feels different when it leads to better health. Long hours of study feel different when they build mastery. The uncertainty of starting over feels different when it creates a future that truly matters. Purpose gives discomfort meaning. Without purpose, pain feels pointless. With purpose, it becomes an investment. History has always rewarded people willing to make that investment. Not immediately, not every time, but consistently. Over the long run, the greatest rewards rarely belong to those who waited until they felt ready. They belong to those who understood that readiness often comes after action, not before. It is choosing to move while fear is still present. It is making the difficult phone call, starting the business, learning the skill, speaking the truth, not because it feels comfortable, but because it matters more than comfort. That is the quiet decision that separates people who admire change from people who create it. And yet, despite knowing this, modern life constantly encourages us to choose the easier path. Never before has comfort been so available or so profitable. Which raises an important question. What happens when an entire world is designed to keep us comfortable? Never before in human history has comfort been so easy to find. With a single tap, food arrives at your door. Entertainment is available every second of the day. Answers appear in moments. Conversations happen without leaving your chair. Life has become more convenient than any previous generation could have imagined. There is nothing inherently wrong with that. Progress has improved countless lives. It has saved time, reduced suffering, created opportunities that once seemed impossible. But every advantage carries a hidden responsibility. The easier life becomes. Comfort is no longer something we earn after hard work. It is something constantly offered before we have even begun, and that changes us. Not all at once, but gradually. When every inconvenience can be removed, our tolerance for discomfort begins to shrink. Silence becomes uncomfortable. Boredom becomes something we try to escape immediately. Yet boredom has always been the birthplace of reflection, and patience has always been one of the foundations of mastery. The modern world encourages the opposite. Everything is faster, quicker, instant. We begin expecting every worthwhile goal to follow the same pattern. We want immediate progress, immediate recognition, immediate success. But life continues to follow its own rhythm. A meaningful relationship still takes time to build. A strong body still requires consistent effort. Wisdom still grows through experience. Character is still formed one decision at a time. Some of the most valuable things in life have refused to become instant. And perhaps that is a gift, because they remind us that not everything valuable can be rushed. The challenge is that convenience slowly changes our expectations. When we become used to immediate rewards, long-term goals begin to feel unnecessarily difficult. The work hasn't changed. Our patience has. That is why discipline has become more valuable than ever. Not because life is harder, but because distractions are greater. Every day presents countless opportunities to choose what feels good now. Instead of what will matter later, most of those choices seem harmless. 5 more minutes, 1 more episode. Tomorrow instead of today. Small decisions, repeated often enough, become a habit, and habits quietly become a way of life. This is how comfort becomes invisible. It doesn't arrive as a dramatic event. It arrives as 1,000 tiny choices that slowly lower our standards. The danger is not that comfort exists. The danger is forgetting that growth still demands effort, no matter how convenient the world becomes. The people who continue to grow are rarely those with the easiest lives. They are the ones who deliberately choose challenges in a world that constantly offers escape. They protect time for learning, for thinking, for difficult work, for meaningful conversations. They understand that convenience is a tool, not a lifestyle. Perhaps that is the real challenge of modern life, not surviving hardship, but refusing to let endless comfort quietly shape who we become. Because every day we are making a choice, or the one that asks us to become more. That choice may seem small in the moment, but over the course of a lifetime, it changes everything. And that brings us to the final question. If comfort is always available, what is the true cost of choosing it again and again? Every choice has a price. Some prices are paid immediately. Others are paid so slowly that we hardly notice them. Comfort belongs to the second category. It rarely asks for a dramatic sacrifice. Instead, it asks for something much smaller. One missed opportunity. One delayed decision. One excuse that seems reasonable. By themselves, they appear insignificant, but over time, small choices become habits. Habits become character, and character becomes destiny. This is the true cost of always choosing what is easy. Not that life suddenly falls apart, but that life slowly stops moving forward. Think about ambition. No one loses ambition overnight. It fades quietly. A goal is postponed. A dream becomes less urgent. The excitement that once fueled action is replaced by the comfort of routine. Eventually, what once felt impossible begins to feel unnecessary. Not because the dream changed, but because comfort slowly lowered the desire to pursue it. The same is true for confidence. Many people believe confidence comes before action. In reality, confidence is often the reward for action. Every difficult conversation you avoid, every opportunity you refuse to pursue, every challenge you walk away from, teaches your mind a dangerous lesson. That discomfort should always be escaped. Over time, your world becomes smaller. Not because you lack ability, but because you've stopped testing it. Perhaps the greatest loss is curiosity. Children ask questions without fear. They explore, they experiment, they fail, and immediately try again. But comfort prefers certainty. It encourages familiar routines, predictable outcomes, safe decisions. Without realizing it, we stop exploring. Not because there is nothing left to discover, but because the unknown has become uncomfortable. And yet, almost every breakthrough in history began with someone willing to step into the unknown. Every invention, every great business, every meaningful achievement, every remarkable life. Someone accepted the discomfort of not knowing long enough to discover something new. Comfort cannot create that. Only curiosity can. This is why the greatest danger of comfort is not that it makes life pleasant. The moment we stop learning, stop questioning, stop challenging ourselves, we begin repeating the same year of life over and over again. Many people mistake familiarity for fulfillment, but they are not the same. A familiar life can still feel empty. A challenging life can feel deeply meaningful. Meaning rarely comes from choosing the easiest path. It comes from becoming someone capable of carrying greater responsibility. Perhaps that is the hidden cost of comfort. It doesn't only change what you do. So ask yourself one final question. What opportunities have you lost? Not because you lacked talent, but because comfort quietly persuaded you to wait. The answer may be uncomfortable, but it may also be the beginning of a different future. Because the moment you recognize the cost of always choosing easy, you are finally able to choose something better. And that leads us to the final lesson. The goal is not to eliminate comfort from your life. The goal is to become the kind of person who is no longer controlled by it. The greatest misconception about extraordinary people is that they enjoy discomfort. Most of them do not. They feel fear before important decisions. They experience doubt before taking risks. They struggle with uncertainty just like everyone else. The difference is not that discomfort disappears. The difference is that they no longer allow it to make their decisions. They understand something that many people never discover. Discomfort is often the price of becoming someone new. Think back to every stage of your life that changed you. The first day at a new school. Your first job. The moment you accepted a difficult responsibility. The day you admitted you were wrong. The day you chose to begin again after failure. None of those moments felt comfortable. Yet many of them became turning points. Not because they were easy, but because they demanded growth. Life has a remarkable way of rewarding those who move toward meaningful challenges instead of away from them. Every difficult conversation strengthens honesty. Every disciplined morning strengthens character. Every promise you keep to yourself builds trust, the kind that no one else can give you. This is how confidence is truly built. Not through positive thinking, not through waiting for the perfect moment, but through repeated evidence that you can do difficult things. Confidence is earned, one uncomfortable decision at a time. Eventually, something begins to change. The challenges that once intimidated you become familiar. The conversations you once avoided become easier. The risks that once felt impossible become manageable. Not because life has become easier, but because you have become stronger. That is the quiet power of embracing discomfort. It expands your world. It teaches you skills you never knew you possessed. It reveals strengths that comfort could never uncover. And perhaps the greatest reward is not success itself. It is freedom. Freedom from allowing fear to decide your future. Freedom from believing that comfort is the highest goal in life. Because the most meaningful lives are rarely built on ease. They are built on purpose. Purpose transforms temporary discomfort into lasting fulfillment. This does not mean you must seek suffering. Rest is important. Peace is important. Recovery is important. But there is a difference between resting to prepare for the journey and resting because you have stopped walking altogether. One restores your strength. The other slowly weakens your potential. So perhaps the question was never, how can I make life easier? Perhaps the better question is, because once you find an answer to that question, discomfort no longer feels like an obstacle. It becomes part of the path. And when that happens, comfort finally returns to its proper place, not as the purpose of your life, but as the reward for living it well. Comfort is one of life's greatest gifts. It allows us to rest, to recover, to heal after hardship, but comfort was never meant to become our destination. Throughout this documentary, we've explored an uncomfortable truth. It is often the quiet habit of choosing what feels easiest. In the moment, one postponed decision, one avoided conversation, one abandoned dream. None of these choices seem life-changing on their own. Yet over the years, they quietly shape the person we become. The irony is that the life we truly want often exists just beyond the things we spend the most time avoiding. Growth begins where certainty ends. Confidence grows through action. Wisdom is earned through experience, and purpose is discovered by moving forward. Even when the path is uncertain, it remembers those who accepted temporary discomfort in pursuit of something greater than themselves. Not because they enjoyed the struggle, but because they believed the destination was worth it. Perhaps that is the real lesson. Life will always contain discomfort. The only question is which kind you will choose. The temporary discomfort of growth or the lasting discomfort of regret. Every day, that choice appears in small moments. The alarm clock that invites you to sleep a little longer. The skill you've promised yourself you'll learn. The opportunity you've delayed because the timing never feels perfect. These moments rarely seem extraordinary, yet they quietly determine the direction of an ordinary life, one decision at a time. So before you ask whether something feels comfortable, ask a different question. Will this choice help me become the person I want to be? Because comfort fades, achievements fade, even success is temporary. But the character you build through the choices you make stays with you. It shapes every challenge you face, every relationship you build, every opportunity you recognize, every future version of yourself. In the end, the most dangerous addiction is not comfort itself. It is believing that comfort is enough, but it rarely feels complete. So rest when you need to. Recover when you're tired. Celebrate the victories you've earned. But when the moment comes to choose between what is easy and what will help you grow, have the courage to take the harder path. Not because it is harder, but because it leads to a life that comfort alone could never give you. And perhaps that is where your greatest potential has been waiting all along.